Alright, here we are back in Blender for part 4 of the Geometry Nodes Sci-Fi HUD tutorial. This one is going to be based on the little speech waveform looking thing. So, as always, I will leave a screenshot with the full nodes and my settings. If you want to copy them, feel free. And if you want to follow along, let's get into it. We've got a new session here. We're going to delete everything, go into Geometry Nodes, add back our cube, and clean up our workspace. Alright, let's add a new node system and delete the group input. We're going to be using a grid for this one. So let's connect that up and go into overhead view, pressing 7. Perfect. Alright, we're going to scale this a little bit on the X, and we're going to turn this grid into a curve here. So mesh to curve. Get rid of the center line by setting the vertices to 2. And we're going to fillet the curve or bevel it here. So we'll go into poly and set that to like 4 or whatever you think looks good. Oops, I disconnected it. Alright, let's go curve to mesh now and turn this back into a mesh. The profile is going to be a curved line, and we'll set the settings to 0.02, negative 0.02, and 0 out the Z. Cool, we've got a nice little outline there. We can set our material for that here, so do a set material node, and then a join geometry node because we are going to need to join this up with the waveform. Perfect, alright, so to make the waveform we'll use the grid again. Let's press Control Shift click on it so that we can view it if you have Node Wrangler. For this, we're going to turn this into a curve again, so mesh to curve. And we need just one vertex, and we need to set this to like 110 maybe. So what we're going to do is instance on all the points here. So let's do an instance on points. We are going to be instancing a curved line. And we need to 0 out the Z, and then we're going to be scaling it by, let's say, like 0.5. Negative 0.5. Perfect. So now we've got all these lines here. We need to turn that curve into a mesh too. So curve to mesh. And we can just use this same curved line profile from earlier. Drag that down. Maybe make it slightly smaller. So 0.01. Negative 0.01. Perfect. Alright, and then to get the waveform shape, we need to go out of the scale and do a combine XYZ. 1 on the X, 0 on the Y, and 1 on the Z, and then out of the Y we will pull a noise texture. And that'll give us this nice waveform looking thing here. And then to get it to move we need to do a vector add node, and we're going to be moving the position, so pull out a position node. Down here we need another combine XYZ and a separate XYZ, and then just combine these up. Oops. So X to X, Y to Y, Z to Z, and out of the vector we'll be moving that by the scene time. So if I press play now, here we go, we've got it. If we want it to move a little bit quicker or slower, we can add in a math node here, set to multiply, and that'll let us have control over how quickly the speech is kind of moving there. So if we move it to like 1, it's quicker, 2 times faster. A quarter as fast. There we go. Anyways, and then to change the sizing a little bit here, we can add in a color ramp and just kind of pull these handles in there. Cool, that looks pretty good. All right, let's join this back up to the frame here. So we'll just pull out from the instance on points to the join geometry. And there we go, it looks pretty good. Set material. One thing I do know is that these are actually, oops, let me fix that. These are actually going out a little bit, and you'll notice it. So one thing to do to fix that is just scale this in just slightly so they're not the same width. Perfect. All right, let's go over the materials real quick. So we have our default material. We'll set that to teal glow. Go into the emission. Set that to a nice teal color. Set the emission to something like 5. Add in another color. This one will be called red glow. Same thing, go to the emission, set it to a nice red color, and a power of something like 5. Let's turn on bloom, set the background to black, go into rendered view, and then set these materials. So for the outline, I want that teal, and for the waveform, I want it to be that red glow. And there we go. We've got a nice little speech-looking wave pattern that loops pretty well, to be honest, just by default. You can change the sizing if you want. You can change the scale of it to make it a little bit longer. Whatever you need here. Like I said, here was the screenshot of the full node setup with my exact settings for how I use it. And I did not go over the trim curve thing on this one. I figure it's kind of repetitive. It's the exact same process for every single element of this. You just need a trim curve set to a math add node that you have control over the appearance and disappearing of the element. Anyways, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below or message me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, and I will do my best to answer them for you. And see you guys in the next one.